The morning started like any other at the Galactic Council's massive space station. Ambassador James Miller walked through the polished halls, his shoes clicking against the marble-like floor. After 5 years of representing Earth, he knew something felt wrong today. The alien representatives avoided his eyes more than usual. He entered the grand chamber just as the council chairman, a tall, blue-skinned being, called for an emergency vote. Miller's heart stopped when he heard the words, "Vote to immediately quarantine the planet Earth." What? Miller stood up, his voice echoing in the chamber. "This is against all protocols. Earth has done nothing wrong." The chairman's 4 eyes blinked slowly. The vote has already been decided. Earth's rapid technological growth presents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. Before Miller could protest further, massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit. They were already there, waiting. This had been planned for weeks, maybe months. The ships activated their energy barriers, creating a shimmering wall that trapped Earth inside. Back on Earth, people watched in horror as the sky turned into a strange, shifting curtain of light. Military bases worldwide went on high alert. Fighter jets scrambled but couldn't get past the barrier. Every rocket, every satellite signal, everything bounced back. In his office at the Global Defense Center, General Thomas Parker slammed his fist on his desk. "Get me anyone from the council. Now." But no one answered Earth's calls. The alien embassy on Earth had vanished overnight, leaving nothing behind. Panic started spreading across the planet. Stock markets crashed. People rushed to stores, buying everything they could. Miller watched helplessly as his communication device was taken away. 2 large security guards escorted him to a small room. "You will wait here until transport to Earth is arranged," they said. Through his window, Miller could see other council members celebrating. The tall, insect-like trade minister clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. "Finally, we can continue our progress without human interference." The tourism minister, a floating cloud of purple gas, formed what passed for a smile. They were becoming too powerful too quickly. Did you see their latest fusion reactor designs? Simply unacceptable. On Earth, President Laura Martinez addressed the world from the White House bunker. "My fellow citizens of Earth, we face an unprecedented challenge. The Galactic Council has betrayed our trust and imprisoned our planet. But humanity has faced challenges before. We will not bow. We will not break." In orbit, the alien ships continued their work, strengthening the barrier. Their commanders felt satisfied, thinking Earth was safely contained. They didn't notice the small quantum fluctuations in their sensor readings. They ignored the slight power variations in their systems. After all, humans were just a young, primitive species. What harm could they do? Inside the council station, Miller sat in his room, watching the celebrations continue. He noticed how the younger races looked uncomfortable, how some representatives whispered in corners with worried faces. The council had just shown its true colors, not as guardians of peace, but as bullies who feared any challenge to their power. A small cleaning robot brought Miller his dinner. As it left, it played a short message, too quiet for anyone else to hear. "Project Phoenix is ready, sir." Miller allowed himself a small smile. The council thought they knew everything about Earth's capabilities. They had studied human weapons, human ships, human defenses, but they had never understood human nature, the drive to prepare for the worst, to have backup plans for backup plans. The celebration in the council chamber reached its peak. They congratulated themselves on containing the human threat so easily, so efficiently. None of them noticed the small changes in their computer systems, the tiny adjustments in their security protocols. As Miller watched the sun set on another artificial day in the station, he thought about Earth's next move. The council expected anger, expected primitive attempts to break the barrier. They expected protests and threats. They didn't expect what was coming. After all, the best revenge is the one your enemy never sees coming. The real war was about to begin, and Earth was ready. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Kate Stone stood in front of a massive screen showing Earth's solar system. The room was filled with the soft hum of quantum computers and the quiet whispers of military personnel. This was humanity's best-kept secret, Project Phoenix Command. "Status report," she ordered, her gray eyes fixed on the barrier surrounding Earth. "All hidden bases responding, Admiral," replied Lieutenant Tom Reed from his station. "Mars base operational. Europa station ready. Titan facility at full power." Stone allowed herself a small smile. The aliens thought they had trapped humanity on Earth. They didn't know that humans had been building secret bases throughout the solar system for the past 3 years, ever since they first contacted alien life. Dr. Alan Ross, the genius behind Earth's stealth technology, walked into the command center. His wild white hair made him look like a mad scientist, which wasn't far from the truth. "The quantum cloak is working perfectly," he reported. "Their sensors can't detect any of our facilities." On the main screen, dozens of green dots appeared, showing the locations of Earth's hidden fleet. While the Council saw old-style rockets and basic space stations above Earth, they never detected the real ships hiding in quantum space, a dimension Ross had discovered by accident. "Begin Phase 1, Stone commanded. "Wake up the Ghost Fleet." Throughout the solar system, ships appeared from nowhere. They looked like black shadows against space, absorbing all light. These were humanity's true warships, built in secret using technology the Council didn't know humans had discovered. In his private lab on Titan, Ross watched his quantum readings. "Remember," he radioed to the fleet, "the cloak only works if you stay below light speed. One wrong move, and they'll see us." The Ghost Fleet moved silently through the solar system, passing right through the Council's barrier as if it wasn't there. The ships operated in perfect silence, their quantum engines making them invisible to all known forms of detection. Back in the mountain base, Stone brought up images of key Council supply routes. "Target their fuel shipments first," she ordered. "No attacks, no destruction. Just make their ships disappear." The first strike happened near Alpha Centauri. A Council cargo ship carrying rare fuel crystals simply vanished. No distress signal, no debris, no signs of attack. The Ghost Fleet had transported the entire ship into quantum space, crew and all. More ships disappeared over the next few days. The Council blamed pirates, then rival alien species, never suspecting the supposedly trapped humans. Their mighty barrier around Earth stood strong, but it was like putting a padlock on an empty safe. In his quarters on Titan Base, Ross worked on his next project. "The quantum virus is ready," he told Stone over a secure channel. "Once we upload it to their networks, their whole communication system will start glitching." "Perfect," Stone replied. "They think technology is their advantage. Let's show them how wrong they are." Meanwhile, on Mars base, engineers finished building more ghost ships. The base, hidden under the red planet's surface, was bigger than any city on Earth. The Council satellites passed overhead regularly, seeing nothing but empty desert. Stone walked through the quantum engine room, watching the strange blue light pulse through transparent tubes. "How long until the new ships are ready?" she asked the chief engineer. 3 days, Admiral. These ones are bigger. They can carry whole space stations if needed. In the Council space station, their best scientists still couldn't explain the disappearing ships. Their sensors showed nothing unusual near Earth. The barrier was working perfectly. Humans were still using their primitive rockets to test the barrier, still sending useless signals asking for negotiations. Stone watched all this through quantum speedromes that moved freely through Council space. "They think they're watching us," she said to Ross. "They don't realize we're the ones doing the watching." The doctor nodded, his eyes on a screen showing Council ships moving through space. "When do we show them what we can really do?" "Soon," Stone said. "First, let them feel what it's like to be helpless. Let them taste fear. Then, when they're desperate enough to start fighting each other." She left the sentence unfinished, but everyone in the command center knew the plan. Earth wasn't just going to break free. It was going to tear the Council apart from the inside out. The real war had begun, and the Council didn't even know it was fighting. Captain Mike Roberts stood on the bridge of his ghost ship, the Shadow Striker, watching a Council trading fleet through quantum space. His crew worked in perfect silence, their fingers dancing over holographic controls. They had done this dozens of times now. No one had ever seen them coming. "Target locked. whispered his first officer, Lucy Baker. "It's their biggest fuel tanker yet." Roberts nodded. "Begin the operation." The Shadow Striker slipped through space like a fish through water. The Council ship's sensors showed nothing but empty space around them. Their crews chatted and joked, not knowing they were being hunted. In the Council's main trading hub, alarms were going off again. Another ship had vanished without a trace. This time, it was carrying rare minerals worth billions of credits. The Council's trade minister slammed all 6 of his hands on his desk. "This is impossible," he shouted. "That's the 30th ship this week. How are they disappearing?" His assistant, trembling slightly, brought more bad news. "Sir, the Insurance Guild is raising their rates again. Some companies are refusing to insure Council ships at all." Back on the Shadow Striker, Roberts watched through quantum space as chaos spread through the Council's trading network. Ships were refusing to leave port. Cargo sat undelivered. Money was being lost by the millions. "Captain," Baker called out, "look at this." She pointed to a screen showing Council ships firing at each other near a space station. "They're starting to blame each other for the missing ships." Roberts smiled. This was exactly what Admiral Stone had predicted. "Send the footage to Command. They'll want to see this." In Project Phoenix Command, Stone and Ross watched the Council tear itself apart. The quantum virus they had released was working perfectly. Communication between Council worlds was breaking down. Messages arrived, scrambled, or went to the wrong places. "Look at this," Ross said, pointing to a news feed. "The bug people are accusing the gas clouds of stealing their ships. The rock creatures think the water beings are sabotaging them." Stone nodded. "And none of them suspect Earth. As far as they know, we're still trapped behind their barrier, sending pathetic messages begging to be let out." On the Council station, the chairman called an emergency meeting. The Great Hall was only half full. Many representatives were too scared to travel through space anymore. "This must stop," the chairman shouted. "We are the Galactic Council. We cannot let pirates and thieves destroy everything we've built." In the back of the room, a junior member stood up. "What if it's not thieves? What if it's one of us? What if someone here is trying to destroy the Council?" The room erupted in shouts and accusations. Old rivalries burst into the open. Centuries of hidden hatred boiled to the surface. Meanwhile, Roberts and his ghost fleet struck again. This time, they took an entire Council military patrol. 4 warships just gone in an instant. The Council's military leaders were fired for failing to protect their ships. Status report. Stone demanded back at Command. Council trade is down 60%. An analyst reported. Their stock market has lost 40% of its value. 3 major trading houses have gone bankrupt. Their entire economy is starting to collapse. Ross looked up from his quantum readings. "Should we slow down? Give them time to recover?" "No," Stone said firmly. "They showed us no mercy when they trapped Earth. We show them none now. Captain Roberts, begin Phase 3. On the Shadow Striker, Roberts received his new orders. His crew's eyes widened as they read them. This was bigger than anything they'd done before. "Can we really pull this off?" Baker asked. Roberts looked at his crew, then at the quantum space display showing hundreds of Council ships moving through space, all of them blind, all of them scared, all of them vulnerable. "Yes," he said, "we can. It's time to show the Council that putting Earth in a cage was the biggest mistake they ever made." The Ghost Fleet gathered in quantum space, invisible and unstoppable. The Council's worst nightmare was about to begin, and they still didn't know who their real enemy was. Phase 3 was about to begin. The largest stock exchange in Council space, a massive space station shaped like a spinning coin, was in complete chaos. Alien traders from 100 different species ran back and forth, screaming as they watched their fortunes disappear on the giant screens. Hidden in quantum space, Dr. Ross's AI systems worked silently. They bought and sold stocks at impossible speeds, creating panic in the market. The Council's biggest companies were losing value by the minute. "Look at that," Ross said to Admiral Stone, pointing at his screens. "The Council's 3 biggest banks just lost half their value in 1 hour." Stone watched the numbers fall, and they still think it's just market panic. They have no idea it's us, Ross smiled. Our quantum AIs are invisible to their systems. They think it's just bad luck and fear. The council chairman called another emergency meeting. This time, only a third of the seats were filled. Most representatives were too busy dealing with the crisis at home. Our economy is collapsing, the trade minister shouted. His usually neat suit was wrinkled, and all 6 of his hands shook. The missing ships were bad enough, but now this. We must do something. In the back of the room, the water beings representative stood up, his liquid form bubbling with anger. My people have lost everything. Our savings are gone. Our businesses are ruined. The rock people demand action. Another representative thundered, pounding his stone fist on the desk. Or we will leave the council. On the Shadow Striker, Captain Roberts watched the meeting through quantum sensors. They're falling apart, he reported to command, just as planned. Admiral Stone nodded. Begin the next phase. Target their fuel reserves. The Ghost Fleet moved through quantum space like sharks through dark water. They appeared near the Council's largest fuel depot, a massive station holding enough power crystals to run their civilization for months. Remember, Roberts told his crew, we're not stealing it this time. We're destroying it. The ghost ships fired their quantum torpedoes. In normal space, the fuel depot suddenly exploded. No alarms had gone off. No sensors had detected anything. It just disappeared in a massive ball of fire. Panic spread through council space like a virus. Without their main fuel reserve, hundreds of planets faced energy shortages. Ships were stranded. Factories shut down. Food production stopped. In Project Phoenix Command, Stone watched the chaos spread. Dr. Ross, how are our propaganda AIs doing? Ross checked another screen. Working perfectly. They're spreading rumors through the council's communication networks. Everyone's blaming everyone else for the fuel depot explosion. On the council station, things were getting worse. The chairman couldn't keep order anymore. Representatives were shouting, threatening war with each other. Centuries-old alliances were breaking apart in minutes. The gas cloud empire demands an investigation. One representative shouted, the Bug Confederation must be behind this. How dare you? The Bug representative clicked his mandibles in fury. We lost more ships than anyone. The rock people are the real criminals. In the quiet of quantum space, Roberts received new orders from command. Time for the final push, he told his crew. Target their central bank. The Shadow Striker and its fleet appeared near the Council's central bank station. This time, they didn't attack. They didn't have to. They just made themselves visible for a split second. Panic turned to terror. The Council's central bank, thinking it was under attack, activated its emergency protocols. All accounts were frozen. All transactions stopped. The entire Council economy ground to a halt. Back on Earth, President Martinez addressed her advisors. How long until they break? Admiral Stone's hologram appeared in the room. Hours, maybe days. Their economy is dead. Their people are rioting. The Council is about to tear itself apart. And they still don't know it's us. No, Madam President. They're too busy fighting each other to look for the real enemy. But soon, very soon, we'll reveal ourselves. And then, she left the sentence unfinished, but everyone knew what was coming. The Council was about to learn a very expensive lesson about underestimating humanity. The final phase was about to begin. The Council space station shook as another riot broke out in the lower levels. Security forces struggled to contain the angry mob of junior representatives and their staff. The once proud symbol of galactic unity was falling apart. In his private chamber, the Council chairman watched the security feeds with growing horror. How did it come to this? He whispered to his empty room. A young clerk from the Rock people burst into the chamber, ignoring the guards. Sir, we found something. He held up a data crystal, evidence about Earth's quarantine. The vote, it was rigged. Down in the station's data center, Dr. Ross's quantum virus had done its job. The truth was leaking out. Files were appearing on every screen, showing how the Council leadership had planned Earth's imprisonment long before the vote. Look at these numbers. A Bug Confederation analyst clicked to his superior. The big trading houses knew about the quarantine plan months ago. They sold their Earth investments just before it happened. The news spread through the station like wildfire. Junior representatives from 50 species gathered in a conference room, their anger growing with each new revelation. They lied to us all. The water being representative splashed in fury. They said Earth was dangerous, but they just wanted to stop human competition. In quantum space, Captain Roberts watched the chaos through his sensors. Command, you need to see this. The lower-ranked council members are turning against their leaders. Admiral Stone smiled as she watched the feeds. Perfect. Dr. Ross, release the next batch of files. More secrets poured out of the council's computers. Evidence of corruption, secret deals, and centuries of manipulation by the senior council members. The station erupted in fresh violence. The gas cloud empire demands new leadership. A voice boomed through the station's speakers. The current council has lost all legitimacy. The chairman tried to call for order, but his words were drowned out by angry shouts. Security forces began changing sides, joining the rebels instead of fighting them. In Project Phoenix Command, President Martinez watched the feeds with Admiral Stone and Dr. Ross. Is it time? She asked. Stone nodded. Almost. Let them tear each other apart a little more. Let them see how their precious council really works. On the council station, the revolution spread. Junior representatives seized control of communication systems, broadcasting the truth to their home worlds. The response was immediate and violent. Breaking news. Screens across council space blazed. Massive protests on 50 worlds. Council leadership accused of corruption. Truth about Earth quarantine revealed. The chairman found himself trapped in his office, his guards gone. Outside, he could hear the mob coming closer. His emergency calls for help went unanswered. In the station's main hall, the rebel representatives set up a new government. Their first act was to try contacting Earth, but the quantum barrier was still in place, controlled by loyal council forces. We can't reach them, a frustrated rebel leader shouted. The barrier control station isn't responding. Hidden in quantum space, Roberts received new orders from command. Time to help our new friends, he told his crew. The Shadow Striker appeared briefly near the barrier control station, firing a single quantum torpedo. The barrier control station exploded silently in space. Seconds later, the energy shield around Earth flickered and died. In the council station, cheers erupted as Earth appeared on their screens, free at last. But their celebration was cut short by a new message, broadcasting on all frequencies. This is Admiral Kate Stone of Earth's Defense Force. Her voice rang through every speaker in council space. We appreciate your support in revealing the truth, but this isn't over yet. The rebels fell silent, suddenly realizing that Earth's freedom might not be their biggest problem. You're about to learn why the council leadership really feared us, Stone continued, and why their fear was justified. The final confrontation was about to begin. The council station's main hall fell silent as hundreds of ghost ships appeared out of nowhere, surrounding the station in a perfect sphere. The ships were massive, black as space itself, and unlike anything the council species had ever seen. Ambassador James Miller walked onto the station's main platform, escorted by quantum-armored troops. The same guards who had locked him away now pressed themselves against the walls, trembling. Surprised to see me? Miller asked, his voice carrying through the silent hall. Or are you more surprised by our ships, the ones you never knew we had? The chairman, now under guard by his own rebel representatives, stared in shock. Impossible. Earth was contained. We had the barrier. Miller laughed. Did you really think a simple energy barrier could stop humanity? While you were watching our old rockets bounce off your shield, our real fleet was already spread throughout the galaxy. On the main screen, Admiral Stone's face appeared. Behind her, the massive command center of Project Phoenix showed hundreds of officers at work. Let me explain what's been happening, Stone said calmly. Those missing ships, that was us. The market crash, also us. The fuel depot explosion, the bank failures, the leaked files, All us. Dr. Ross appeared next to her. Your barrier wasn't keeping us in, he explained. It was just keeping you from seeing what we were really doing. Quantum space technology, something your scientists said was impossible. The council species murmured in fear and awe. Everything made sense now. The chaos, the disappearances, the mysterious accidents. It had all been Earth's revenge. Captain Roberts' hologram joined the others. Every time you ignored Earth's calls for negotiation, we took another piece of your economy. Every time you celebrated our containment, we destroyed another part of your infrastructure. But why? The chairman stammered. Why not just attack us directly? Because, Miller said, stepping closer, we wanted you to feel what we felt. The helplessness, the frustration, the anger of being ignored and dismissed. Admiral Stone nodded. And now, here are our terms. The screens filled with Earth's demands. Immediate dissolution of the current council leadership. Trial of all those involved in the Earth quarantine plot. Full reparations for Earth and all damaged lower-tier worlds. A new galactic assembly with equal representation for all species. Sharing of quantum space technology with peaceful worlds. Joint defense agreement against future threats. You have 1 hour to decide, Miller announced. Accept our terms, or, outside the station, one of the ghost ships fired a quantum torpedo at an empty asteroid. The massive rock didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, leaving not even dust behind. That, Miller said quietly, is what quantum weapons can do. Imagine what would happen if we decided to use them on populated worlds. The rebel representatives, now leading the council, huddled together. They knew they had no choice. Earth had beaten them without firing a shot, destroyed their economy without declaring war, and revealed power beyond their imagination. We accept, the rebel leader said, all terms, without condition. Miller nodded. Smart choice. Admiral, begin power-down procedures. The ghost ships didn't disappear, but their weapons visibly powered down. Earth's troops relaxed their stance, and Miller finally allowed himself to smile. Welcome to the new age of galactic civilization, he announced. One where humanity will ensure that no species ever tries to dominate another again. As the council representatives signed the surrender documents, Miller looked out at the stars through the station's massive windows. Humanity had won not through brute force, but through careful planning, advanced technology, and strategic patience. The universe would never underestimate Earth again. But the story wasn't over yet. The real work of building a new galactic order was about to begin. 1 month after Earth's ultimatum, the galaxy looked very different. The old council station had been transformed. Gone were the huge, throne-like chairs of the senior members. Now representatives from all species sat in equal seats arranged in a perfect circle. Ambassador Miller stood at the center of the new galactic assembly chamber. Today marks the first session of true galactic democracy, he announced to the packed room. Every species, no matter how old or young, has an equal voice here. In the public viewing area, the former council chairman and his corrupt officials watched in chains. They would face trial the next day for their crimes against Earth and other species. Their faces showed fear. They knew the evidence against them was overwhelming. Admiral Stone and Captain Roberts supervised the installation of quantum space monitors throughout the galaxy. These devices would help all species detect and prevent any future attempts at planetary quarantine. Quite a change, isn't it? Roberts asked, watching alien ships learning to use the new quantum space lanes Earth had created. Stone nodded. From prisoners to peacekeepers in 1 month. Not bad for a primitive species. Dr. Ross had opened education centers on 50 worlds, teaching quantum science to eager students from all species. The Bug Confederation's scientists were especially quick learners, already building their first quantum communication devices. The key, Ross explained to his diverse class, is understanding that space isn't what we thought it was. There are layers, dimensions, possibilities we're only beginning to explore. On Earth, President Martinez addressed the United Nations. Our victory wasn't just for humanity, she said. It was for every species that had been pushed aside, ignored, or oppressed by the old council. The changes spread across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. Trade flourished as quantum ships made travel faster and safer. Former enemies began working together, sharing resources and knowledge. The galaxy's economy recovered, but this time built on fair trade and mutual benefit. In the new assembly chamber, Miller watched representatives from former enemy species talking and laughing together. The water beings were helping the rock people solve their drought problems. The gas clouds were teaching the Bug Confederation new ways to process minerals. Amazing what happens when you remove corrupt leadership, he said to his new assistant, a young alien from a species that had never had a voice before. Do you think they've learned their lesson? The assistant asked, their crystalline form shimmering with curiosity. Miller looked out at the stars through the station's window. I think everyone learned several lessons about power, about corruption, about underestimating others. On the quantum display screens, hundreds of ships moved peacefully through space. Earth's ghost fleet patrolled quietly, rarely seen but always ready. They were no longer weapons of revenge, but guardians of peace. What about the humans? A bug representative asked Miller. How do we know you won't become what the old council was? Miller smiled. Because we remember what it was like to be powerless. That's why we created the new assembly. Every decision, every law, every action must be approved by all species together. Even Earth can't act alone anymore. President Martinez signed the final document, the Galactic Constitution. It guaranteed rights and protections for all species, banned planetary quarantines, and established courts to handle disputes fairly. As the document was uploaded to all galactic databases, cheers erupted across thousands of worlds. The age of corruption and fear was over. A new era of cooperation and progress had begun. In Project Phoenix Command, now converted into a galactic defense headquarters, Admiral Stone looked at the latest reports. Peace was spreading. Trade was growing. Knowledge was flowing freely between species. Was it worth it? Dr. Ross asked her. All the planning, the waiting, the secret preparations. Stone watched a group of alien children touring the facility, their eyes wide with wonder at Earth's technology. Look at them, she said. They'll grow up in a galaxy without fear, without corruption, without species looking down on other species. She smiled. Yes, it was worth it. We didn't just get revenge. We made the galaxy better. The stars shined brighter that day, as if they too approved of the new order. Humanity had proven itself not just powerful, but wise, not just vengeful, but just. The galaxy would never be the same again. And that was exactly what Earth had planned all along.